Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're doing well. We're continuing the Hannibal series. Obviously, we've seen so much. We've seen so much so far. Hannibal has done the impossible at Cannae, and now the after effects of Cannae, as we've seen, Rome is just bleeding everywhere. And I don't know, like, the cards are in Hannibal's favor here. Glad you're here, though. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you love history just like we do. We react to history, me and you. Let's go. First Battle of Nola.
Cut off in Italy, Hannibal would yet again show his uncanny ability to adapt to an unfavorable situation. During his year-long trek across the Apennines and back, he dispersed a vast number of scouts. Gradually, this network of spies uncovered how
Dang, they really circled Rome. They know Rome.
Rome interacted with the region. Hannibal learned that a variety of treaties tied the communities of southern Italy to Rome, which acted as hegemon of this alliance, rather than a ruler.
Similar to the Greek states.
Rome counted on its allies to supply half of the manpower and material that were vital for the war effort. But most of these communities were non-Roman and didn't speak Latin, and some were becoming disaffected by the high-handed Romans. This was the weak link that Hannibal needed. Continuing his policy of clemency towards non-Romans, he released up to 11,000 Italian captives back to their homes.
It's going to cause mass defections because they're going to see Hannibal as their savior at this point.
This calculated move prompted a surge of defections.
Yeah.
He would now have access to resources needed to create his own base of operations in southern Italy.
That's crazy.
Next, he dispatched his brother Mago to Bruttium, where he was to consolidate Carthaginian control, recruit new troops, gather war supplies, and subdue cities still loyal to Rome. Lastly, he released 10 Roman prisoners so they could arrange for the ransom for their 8,000 compatriots.
Dang, they still got 8,000 prisoner, and they're doing a ransom move to Rome.
Captured after the Battle of Cannae. They were escorted by Carthallo, another prominent cavalry commander. By including one of his own officers in the delegation, Hannibal intended to seek terms, declaring that his objective...
Wait a sec, we gotta look at these terms. He has peace terms for returning Sicily and Sardinia, because of course, after the First Punic War, Rome put pressure and took those. Pay war reparations, which is an inverse of the First Punic War. Relinquish Iberia, so getting the Scipio brothers and their armies out, so the silver mines and the resources stay present over there. Relinquish southern Italy? What is southern Italy? Is it Bruttium? Is it Capua and below? Yeah, bro, and you're gonna do this alongside to... This is not even including the ransom. Rome's about to laugh at these guys.
Was not to destroy Rome, but to restore Carthaginian dominance over the Western Mediterranean.
Another pause, sorry. This is probably why he never took Rome. He wanted favorable peace terms. He never had a reason to destroy it. He wanted a reason to outgrow it. There's probably other reasons too, but there's a huge treasury in Rome. There's got to be. So this is calculated.
After all, by contemporary standards, he was the victor. With Rome's hegemony over Italy and its very future in doubt, surely, he thought, they would see sense. He was wrong.
Dang. Go sub to HistoryMarche, their W channel.
The Roman Senate refused Carthallo entry into the city. What is more, they even refused to speak to the delegation of Roman soldiers. There would be no ransom.
Oh, it's over.
To so publicly doom the lives of 8,000 of your own troops in captivity was a show of determination that defied convention.
Are they gonna kill
Even
him?
the clever Hannibal must have been surprised by Rome's refusal to negotiate. Still, the Carthaginian general was in a
Oh, there it is. High ranks are killed. The rest are sold to slavery. Okay.
position of strength, and his army remained unchallenged in Italy. It was reasonable to think that sustained pressure would eventually force the Romans to concede defeat. And now he was marching towards Campania to accept the defection of Capua, a city second only to Rome in size and importance on the Italian peninsula. The powerful city wanted to secure its own regional supremacy for some time. Now they used Hannibal's growing presence in Italy as leverage to demand from Rome that one of the two consuls should always be selected from Capua. When their Roman allies refused, the Capuans had the pretext they needed to open the gates. Hannibal left a garrison to set up winter quarters in the city and resumed operations in Campania. Observing from Casilinum, Marcellus did not seek battle in the open and instead chose to shadow the Carthaginians. Although the Roman general did not realize
Literally, Hannibal's doing what he wants.
it yet,
When he wants.
Hannibal wanted to draw him and his army away from Casilinum, which threatened Capua's northern flank. The Carthaginian general stopped at Neapolis, recognizing the importance of its port, which could offer a safe haven for ships carrying reinforcements and supplies from Africa. However, the city's garrison was commanded by a Roman mayor and unlikely to defect. Since besieging a fortified coastal city without naval support was futile, the Carthaginian general did not waste any time. He turned his attention to Nuceria Alfraterna, one of the largest and oldest cities in ancient Campania, built in the 6th century BC, with Oscan, Etruscan, Samnite, and Roman heritage. The city was a hegemon of the Nucerian League, a Samnite alliance that included the cities of Pompeii, Stabia, and Herculaneum. Persuading the League to defect would further strengthen Hannibal's position in Italy.
Of course, you got Mount Vesuvius right there, at where the inn is. Did Herculaneum also perish when that happened?
Once in front of the city, the gates remained closed. Met with impregnable double curtain walls, Hannibal's only option was to surround the city. He threatened to subdue Nuceria by starvation. But in light of his success at Capua, he had hoped that his propaganda image of wanting to liberate and respect the independence of the Italian peoples would convince Nuceria's Senate to switch sides. But Nuceria remained a loyal ally of Rome. To combat the food shortage, the city officials expelled those who were unable to carry a weapon and fight.
Wow.
Nucerians gambled that Hannibal would not risk tarnishing his image by refusing to shelter the refugees. The Carthaginian general understood their plan. Not for the first time, he would demonstrate his ruthlessness and cunning. Instead of accepting those expelled from the city, he mixed them with refugees from several surrounding settlements and forced them back inside the walls. In an instant, Nuceria's population doubled.
That's insane. That's horrible. But that's insane at the same time. It's a horrible thing for those people. Because they're literally... This is a rock and a hard place.
Food stock quickly ran out, and the suffering began. Without hope of any help from the Romans, the Nucerian Senate opened negotiations. Hannibal gave safe passage to all inhabitants, who took shelter in nearby towns, then allowed his troops to plunder. Before leaving, the Carthaginians methodically leveled the city to the ground.
They razed it to the ground.
After the destruction of Nuceria, Hannibal turned his army towards Nola, a key Campanian city due to rumors that the inhabitants were on the verge of revolting against Rome. Marcellus reached the city just in time and braced for the arrival of the Carthaginian general.
We're gonna get a battle.
Both commanders deployed in battle formation. Marcellus arrayed his men with the walls and gates behind them. Hannibal launched a probing attack, hoping that the inhabitants will rise once they heard that battle has commenced. Indeed, during the skirmish, a few panicked senators came outside to warn that the situation in the city was unstable. Marcellus was careful not to commit his men, and as soon as the skirmish ended, he withdrew behind the walls.
Wow.
Senators of Nola, firmly in favor of keeping the alliance with Rome, now explained that the people were in favor of Hannibal, in part out of fear that he would devastate their fields around the city and cause a famine. Furthermore, it was uncovered that there had been nocturnal talks between the inhabitants and the Carthaginians. It was agreed that once the Romans again deployed outside the walls, Hannibal would launch an attack, while the people inside would seize Marcellus's supplies and weapons, close the gates, and take up position on the walls.
Dang. Rome can't catch a break if that happens.
Thereby trapping the Romans. Marcellus thanked the senators for informing him. Before the city could revolt, the Roman general divided his army into three. Each contingent was ordered to deploy in complete silence behind
Oh, he might have get tipped off. That's what it was talking about.
the three gates facing the enemy. The baggage train was told to stay close to the army. His best infantry and the Roman cavalry were to deploy behind the central gate. To guard the side and rear doors, he redeployed the recruits and velites from the walls and towers and added the allied cavalry. In addition, Marcellus forbade the inhabitants from approaching the walls and gates, and the Roman headquarters in the center of the city was strengthened.
So he was definitely tipped off, obviously. So now they have the upper hand because they know that the plan, and Hannibal doesn't know that they know.
After a long wait, it seemed strange to Hannibal that the Romans did not deploy in front of the central gate, and that there were no troops manning the walls. Suspecting that his secret talks with the people of Nola were uncovered, he advanced forward.
Oh.
The plan was to attack the central gate, as Hannibal was convinced that the Nolans would rise once battle commenced. As the Carthaginians moved in a loose formation, the Roman trumpets sounded off. A loud clamor arose as Marcellus's men came rushing out of the three gates. The Romans forewent forming in battle formation and instead pressed forward. What the maneuver lacked in sophistication, it made up for with surprise. At first, the Carthaginian center was in trouble, unable to react to the rapid attack. But Hannibal was soon able to stabilize the line. Meanwhile, the advance of the Roman wings fell upon the Carthaginian left and right. Then came a large cloud of dust raised by Marcellus's advancing baggage train, leading the Carthaginians to believe that the Roman army was much larger than it actually was.
Wow, using some interesting tactics. Some tactics I would even say that Hannibal would use.
Recognizing that Marcellus had the initiative, Hannibal ordered the men to disengage.
Wow.
He knew that the ruse with the baggage train could cause panic among his ranks, and did not want to let his opponent capitalize on it. The Romans dared not pursue, and the Carthaginians withdrew in good order. Hannibal was most certainly surprised by Marcellus's capabilities as a general. He didn't just shadow the Carthaginian army, but could judge when was the perfect moment to challenge them in battle. In a sense, Marcellus employed an aggressive version of the Fabian strategy.
True. Very true.
Although the attack on Nola was repulsed, Hannibal successfully drew Marcellus away from the Volturnus River. He now doubled back, taking Acera after a short siege, and proceeded to Casilinum, where Marcellus left a garrison. The town controlled a triple archway bridge across the river Volturnus, on the main road that connected Capua to Rome. As one of the very few crossings across the formidable river, it was of crucial strategic value. After about a month, the Roman garrison was starved into submission. They paid an enormous sum for safe passage. By capturing Casilinum, Hannibal secured Capua's northern flank and now held a vital point from where he could launch attacks towards Rome. A garrison was left to guard the town, while the rest of the army returned to winter quarters in Capua. Hannibal formally handed control over Casilinum to the Capuans and began making plans for the coming months. Back at Nola, Marcellus closed the gates and posted sentries to prevent anyone from leaving the city. Those that conspired with Hannibal were put on trial and beheaded.
Wow.
The Roman general then marched out and encamped on the heights overlooking Suessula, keeping a close eye on the Carthaginians. While the stalemate at Nola was unimportant in the strategic sense, Marcellus's encounter with Hannibal was significant because it was the first time the Romans avoided defeat in a battle against the Carthaginian. And the two generals would meet again.
Wow. That's going to do it for today. But wow, the Marcellus held his own. And we got to think about it. It was all about the intelligence that he had. If he did not have that intelligence from those senators, even though those senators willingly gave that information up, for them to do that allowed Marcellus to really redeploy a different plan. And Hannibal got almost like, think about it, the baggage train that came out of the main gate kind of like created some sort of uncertainty to where Hannibal knew that if he was to leave his troops as is, this could create a rout because of unknowingly not knowing if there was a bigger army coming out of the gates or whatnot. So Nola, the First Battle of Nola, seems to be a chess match that victory Rome. Now, Hannibal did not get defeated, but he did strategically not get what he wanted. He wanted to destroy Marcellus's army. He wanted to have complete control of Campania. And now Marcellus is actually becoming a thorn in Hannibal's backside. So we'll see how that develops. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on another episode of Hannibal. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We have many more videos to come. Peace out. Bye-bye.